What's up, fight fans? Greg Rowe Show Boxing. Wanted to give you my thoughts on Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. Obviously, when you have a fight of this magnitude, you're going to have a plethora of opinions across the board, from hardcore boxing fans and scribes to hardcore MMA guys to, the casual fan to the, fan of the YouTube fighters and all that stuff trying to become fight fans. So I just wanted to give you my thoughts on it. I thought that this was going to be a cakewalk for Tyson Fury. I felt like he'd probably the first 2 or 3 rounds maybe carry Ngannou, toy with him a little bit, make it, kind of a fun kind of spectacle, and then he would get to boxing him and then eventually stopping him, I thought, between, like the 6th and 7th round is what I thought. That's obviously not what happened. And what I want to get into is not only talking about the fight itself, but talking about people's views and how they analyzed what they saw. I'm seeing a lot of things from people that, Tyson Fury embarrassed boxing, that should have been an easy fight for him, that he didn't do boxing any favors, that, MMA guys are now going to start getting really ballsy because of that type of performance. And I'm seeing people say, like, Fury won the fight easy, he boxed him up, all that kind of stuff. Listen. Did Tyson Fury have moments in the fight that he boxed Ngannou and did what he wanted to do? Sure. I keep hearing people say, like he used the jab, he controlled him with the jab. Yes, the jab is a very important punch in boxing. People say the most important punch in boxing, but it's not the most important punch in boxing just simply because it's the most important punch in boxing. It's the most important punch in boxing if you use it properly, work behind it, and set up other shots. Okay, it's not simply the most important punch in boxing if you just sit there and circle somebody and jab them to death, right? There's got to be something. You have to be setting something up. Something has to be coming behind the jab in order for it to really be the most important punch or the best punch in boxing, right? And there were some times that Tyson hit Ngannou with a 1-2. He did the hook right hand a couple times and had some success with that. But never at any point did I ever feel like he hurt Ngannou, had Ngannou in trouble, that he was clearly controlling the fight, that, he was dictating the pace and dictating, where the fight went and how the fight went. I never got that feeling like I have in previous Fury fights. I saw a guy who was trying, couldn't necessarily figure out the guy that was in front of him, maybe because he underestimated the guy that was in front of him, and therefore was just kind of trying to do what he could do, right? Like switching southpaw and stuff like that. Fury doesn't typically do those types of things multiple times in a fight, let alone multiple times in a round like he was doing on Saturday night. Does he do it occasionally? Sure. A lot of guys will just kind of switch it up to give a different look if there's something that they're seeing coming back at them or that they can't figure out, that they don't like a certain look. Then they'll switch to kind of try and throw the other guy off a little bit and maybe try and get something going. But Fury, to me, while landing some good punches, working behind the jab a little bit here and there, I didn't ever feel like he was winning or controlling the fight. I didn't feel like to me, the way I look at this fight and how the whole lead up to it, went, and how the fight itself went, other than the outcome, really, I look at the original Rocky movie, right? Like Apollo Creed, was in there to showboat. He used to make a show of it. This guy was going to be easy work. Look at me, yada, 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 the whole build up to the fight, the ring walk, all that kind of stuff. And then when he got into the ring with Rocky, or Fury got into the ring with Ngannou, those two guys, if it was a joke and it was supposed to be easy and it was supposed to be, this sparring match or this, friendly type fight, somebody forgot to tell those guys, right? And that's how I look at it. Rocky, the way Rocky fought Apollo and the kind of the depths that he took him to, or are sort of similar to the way that Ngannou fought and the depths that he kind of took Fury to, right? They're very similar in that aspect. Personally, to me, I scored the fight 5-5. and I had Ngannou winning 95-94 because of the knockdown. Nobody, it doesn't matter who it is. It really doesn't. Nobody's going to sit here and tell me, look me in my eye, and tell me that Fury simply won the fight because he boxed him up the whole fight. That he boxed him 7, 8, 9 rounds and therefore won the fight, in that manner. You had Krebs, who had it 96-93 Fury, which means he gave 7 rounds to Fury. I'm sorry, I didn't see that fight. To me, Ngannou was pressuring the action. He was dictating the pace of the fight. He was dictating how the fight went, where the fight went, and really making Fury more uncomfortable rather than the other way around. And that's kind of how you can sort of tell, like, ring generalship, fight IQ is how you control those kind of areas, how you control those kind of moments in the fight. And to me, like, here's the thing. Also, if I took a person who had never seen, professional boxing ever, and I threw on this fight and I said, watch this fight with me, and then without telling them who the best heavyweight in the world is in boxing, and I said, watch the fight and tell me which guy that was, I bet you most people would have told me that the best heavyweight in the world, the heavyweight boxing champion, was Ngannou and not Fury. That's very telling. You look at their faces after the fight. Fury's eye was all swollen up. He's got a black eye the day after. Ngannou looks like he wasn't even in the fight at all. He scored the knockdown. He landed the harder shots. And to me, while Fury was moving around and popping him with the jab, again, very rarely was anything effective coming behind the jab. To me, Ngannou didn't use his jab as much, but he used his jab more effectively because he would set up shots. Whether he'd throw the jab up top and then go, right hand to the body, or whether he'd throw the jab and then hook to the body, or throw it and then throw the right hand. He was working more effectively behind the jab, in my opinion, in watching the entire fight. One thing I really like what Ngannou did, and I am a huge proponent of this. It always irritates me when, you have a big fight and a guy may be up a few rounds and you're getting late in the fight or whatever, and the guy who's down just lets the other guy hold him, and doesn't look to work out of a clinch and whatnot. Ngannou worked out of clinches better than I've pretty much seen any pro boxer do in a long, long time. Working the body, working the uppercut, not allowing Tyson to just hold him. He would hit him with uppercuts, and that would sort of make Tyson have to let go of him, and then he could get back to work. Very intelligent game plan, very high fight IQ out of Ngannou. The game plan from his trainers, the help from Mike Tyson actually helped. It actually paid off. It wasn't just a publicity stunt. It wasn't just some, thing to drum up interest. Tyson working with him, showing him little things on inside fighting, and whatnot, how to throw his shots, what kind of combinations to put together, how to get inside on a bigger man, something Tyson was really good at. I think all of those things showed up in the fight. And while I thought it was a pick'em fight and a close fight, I thought that Ngannou won the fight due to the knockdown. I haven't gone back and watched the fight, but to me, I'm scoring the fight and I'm going, man, that's 2-2. Okay, man, that's 3-3. Okay, that's 4-4. There was never at any point was I like, oh man, Fury's up, 4-2, or Fury's up 5-3. It never felt that way to me. And for all the people making excuses for Tyson Fury, there are none. There are none. If you're the best heavyweight in the world in the sport of boxing, you're the lineal heavyweight champion, you should not struggle that badly with a guy who had never fought in a professional boxing ring. Yes, he's a professional MMA fighter, but it is not the same thing. If anybody has done either, they will be able to tell you it's not the same thing, right? In MMA, if you're standing up with somebody and they're whooping your ass on the feet, you can shoot, right? You can take them down. You can get them on the ground. You can lean them up against the cage. You can pin their arm. You can hit them with shoulder strikes. You can do all of these different things to stop what is happening on the feet from happening. In boxing, if you're getting your ass beat on the feet, bro, tough luck. Tough luck. You can try and hold, but if you got a guy like Ngannou that's going to work out of the clinches and hit you with short shots and uppercuts and stuff like that, it's going to make it a long night for you. And so that's the difference in boxing, right? People always say, well, MMA is much harder because, you have all these different skill sets. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that you have the option in MMA, if you're getting your ass beat, to go to the ground, right? To tie somebody up, to lay on them, to stop the punishment that is coming at you from happening. In boxing, you don't have that. If you're getting your ass whooped on the feet, like, you better figure it out or you're going to get knocked out, right? So, I really felt like Fury should not have struggled with a guy who had never done that portion professionally, right? Ngannou was a professional fighter, but he wasn't a professional boxer, and it's completely different. It's a completely different skill set. It's a completely different conditioning. It's a completely different mindset when you're in there, because there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide, right? You can't go down. You can't hold somebody. You can't grapple. You can't do all these things to stop the punishment. So, I mean, to me, it was embarrassing. I mean, you go back and look at James Toney taking a risk, fighting Randy Couture. Obviously, that fight went the way that we all expected it to. You look at Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor had success against Mayweather because Mayweather allowed him to have success. It wasn't necessarily so much because Conor McGregor was that great of a boxer. I mean, he's decent. I'm not saying he's trash, but that's why that fight went the way that it went. You look at Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz looked like absolute dog shit. You look at Dylan Dennis the other day, even worse, right? So to say just because you're a professional MMA fighter that you should be, good at boxing, and that you shouldn't, you should struggle with an MMA guy coming into a boxing ring, you shouldn't, because those fights were very easy, because those guys, other than having, decent conditioning and having, some semblance of combat experience, they both look, Diaz and Dylan Dennis look terrible in a boxing ring. They look like they didn't belong. They look like they didn't know what they were doing. And that's the way that it should look, especially if you are the best heavyweight in the world. And that's where, Tyson Fury lost me, is that I felt like this should have been an easy fight for him. It wasn't. I don't think he was trying to carry Ngannou. I really think he was in there in a tough fight. I really feel like he didn't know what kind of adjustments to make, because he's so used to being the biggest man, right? He's 6'9", he's 275, 280, and even a guy like Wilder, who's 6'6", 6'7", he's really skinny and thin, right? 225, 230. And when you get a 275, 280-pound man leaning on you in clinches and stuff like that, it can wear your body down. And Ngannou was not that. Ngannou was a strong fighter. Maybe only 6'4", 240, whatever he was, 245, but he was very strong. So Fury couldn't impose his will, his weight, that physicality on Ngannou the way that he's been able to do to other people. And so that's why, like, when people tell me, like, oh, Fury would destroy Lennox Lewis or box Lennox Lewis up, because they're two, European heavyweights. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Lennox Lewis would fucking flatten Tyson Fury, because he was 6'5", he was 245, he had all the skill in the world. He could box, he could punch, he knew how to fight at range, he knew how to use his size and his length, and he wouldn't allow Fury to just sit there and lay on him and wear him down, because he was a physically strong fighter himself. Right, so I think that's why Ngannou didn't wear down like Wilder did. Again, pick 'em fight. I didn't see Fury, box his ass off the entire fight like people are trying to tell me. Is it embarrassing for Tyson Fury? Absolutely. Is it kind of a black eye for boxing? Sure, because your best fighter was supposed to easily handle their best fighter in his own arena, and he really wasn't able to do it. What's next? I don't know. I hope we see Fury fight Usyk. I don't know if that's going to happen. I've heard rumors floating around that Deontay Wilder's people have already reached out to Ngannou about a fight. That would be a spectacular fight. It wouldn't go the same way that Wilder Fury went or the Ngannou Fury went, because their styles make fights. They're two different fighters. They're both big punchers. Wilder doesn't have to necessarily worry about the boxing and the weight and all that kind of stuff, the movement from Ngannou that he saw from Fury. And Ngannou, same thing. He's not going to have to worry so much about the movement. It's going to be two guys just standing in there, and whoever lands, the knockout punch first is going to win the fight. And honestly, that to me is what heavyweight boxing is. That's what, got me into loving heavyweight boxing in the 80s with Mike Tyson, because that's how it was. If he landed, bro, see ya, right? And that's, when I think about heavyweight boxing, that's what I think about. So I'd really like to see, honestly, I'd like to see both those fights. I'd like to see Fury fight Usyk, and I wouldn't mind seeing Wilder fight Ngannou. So that's my opinion on that. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. What did you think of the fight? Who did you have winning? What do you think about these two possible matchups here in the near future? And until the next one, I'm out of here.